So you've been watching Star Wars Andor, right? So you know who that Luthen character is? He's the guy that he's going around setting up all the rebel cells, and he's, in case you've been like under a rock, the theory is that he's a Jedi because he carries around like a Jedi walking staff, and then it like comes into a wooden handle that looks exactly like a lightsaber, and everything he does is kind of like he's using the Force. It's like he was one of those Jedis that survived, and now he's using all of his powers to go against the Empire and build all those rebel cells, and he's a master at everything he does. And then one of the biggest things that proves that this guy's a Jedi.
What do I sacrifice? Everything!
Did you see that when he was in his Hallcraft and that Imperial Indictor patrol cruiser came and put him on the tractor beam, and then he let off all of that tungsten flak that blasted the radar dish, and then he took off and he was one shot on the TIE fighters, and then he did that little maneuver with the side lasers and took out the rest of them. So I mean, the theory on the internet is that this dude is a Jedi Luthen. And another clue is at the end, when he was going to find Andor, he had his hood up. And I think the whole time, like, here's the other thing that I think might be a possibility. You know how Cassian was looking for his sister? The strange thing is how this Luthen character knows everything about Andor. So what I'm thinking is somehow Luthen knows who Cassian Andor's sister is, or he knew who she was. Or, that assistant that is in his art shop? Her name is Layla or something. It sounds similar to Leia, but it's Layla. Like, maybe that is Cassian's sister. And if you watch the show, when everybody else is trying to get rid of Cassian Andor because he might know who Luthen is, it seems like Luthen and that girl who possibly might be Cassian Andor's sister, they're trying to find him and save him. And it doesn't really ever seem like Luthen and that girl were like out to actually trying to they're trying to get rid of Cassian to get him out of the equation. And then another possibility, as I was thinking, is that Cassian Andor is Force sensitive, and that's another reason that Luthen is trying to get him, because he knows that Cassian Andor is Force sensitive, because at the beginning, when those two Primor security guys accosted him, he had Jedi reflexes and took him down. And then that one guy was saying, oh, let's turn ourselves in, but Cassian just somehow knew that if he let this guy live, that he himself would not survive. And then Cassian Andor somehow just knows all these things, and all this stuff he just knows and he can do. And another thing, when he's flying that hauler, when they robbed the gold from that Imperial barracks on Alkenzi, he was able to fly that shuttle through the storm, and he did it perfectly, even though the guy that was supposed to help him was injured and giving him delayed instructions. He was able to perfectly fly through that meteor storm or whatever it was above that planet. And then when that other guy, Skeen, I think it was, when he was pitching his plan to Cassian about stealing all the gold, and he needed Cassian to pilot the trawler, like somehow Cassian knew if he didn't agree to his plan that Skeen was going to take him out, so Cassian knew he had to take him out. And then a bunch of things also at that Imperial prison, like somehow Cassian knew that those prisoners were not getting out of there, and the first time he got in there, he was like trying to escape. And it's almost like he's being guided by the Force. I think Cassian Andor is Force sensitive. Here's the other thing. Mon Mathma's husband, Perrin, I think he is also a secret Jedi. If you look at his hairstyle, he collects historical military artifacts, and everything, how he wears his clothes, he looks like he's a Jedi. And then when you watch them interacting, it almost seems like he's intentionally playing a part and acting like he's the Imperial Senate side. There's this other thing. He knows the driver's name that's an Imperial asset that's spying on him. And then when they're in their car, in that flying Cadillac, he's like, what's the driver's name? And then he's like, beep. They almost talk in a code. So I think Mon Mathma not only is harboring Luthen, Perrin was either pretending to be Mon Mathma's husband, or was a neutral Grey Jedi that married Mon Mathma through the Chandrilan culture when they were 16. And I think originally he was there to watch the Jedi Order and how they interact with the Senate, and he's just been playing an act the whole time. They're going out of their way when they're talking at their functions, and Perrin is always watching Mon Mathma. He's always listening, he's always overhearing. If you watch them interact and don't listen to the words, if you look at their body language and their faces, it literally looks like they know what they are saying to each other, and they are intentionally playing the act. And the reason they have to maintain the facade at all times, even in their own home, is any member of their staff could potentially be an ISB plant just like the driver. And after the Jedi purge from episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, they became so dangerous they had to conceal Perrin's true identity even from their own 3-year-old daughter. Also, Mon Mathma tells her accountant she learned deception from Palpatine, and everything about her life is a projection.
Execute Order 66.
Grey Jedi could have wives and children, and if Disney decides to bring that plot element in from the extended universe, it would make sense that Luthen and Perrin originated from these neutral force users, as the Jedi Council, for the lack of a better word, ignored them, would not have included their activities and locations in the temple's historical archives. And just to close this out, the Andor series takes place in 5 BBY, or before Battle of Yavin, in Episode 4, A New Hope, and 4 years before Rogue One.
If you like spaceships, hit subscribe at the bottom right hand corner on the extremely small watermark box of the channel icon.
And Space Wizards.